We've seen a great run for Bitcoin over the last 3 weeks, from below 30,000 to touch, 46,700 in the last day or so. It looks like it's finally broken out of the range, but actually, is this going to end up being a false break and we're going to see the price dip back down, back into the middle of the range it was trading in previously? Lots of big moves in crypto over the last few weeks, so I thought we'd do an update in Bitcoin. We had been watching this sideways range that had built up since mid-May, since the big sell-off, or late May, and we'd seen it underpinned by sort of 28 to 30,000 and really struggling to get past 40 to 42. All of that has changed in the last week or so, and we've seen Bitcoin break out. So as usual in this video, we'll take a look at things in a bit more detail and see where the opportunities might be here. And I do think there is an opportunity. I mean, the break, I think, could end up being a significant one. The only question is, well, what do we do now? Are we going to go short because we could see something of a false break, or actually do I want to just buy in because perhaps we're going to see a run back up, first of all, to those early May highs just shy of 60,000. I do have a trade running on Bitcoin at the moment. It's been going for a while, since the 21st of May. So that's finally showing a profit. Perhaps there's some work to do on the stop loss there. We did a trade early in the week on Ethereum as well. So that order has been filled. So we've got a bit of crypto exposure going on in the open positions. But I do wonder if there's another trade to do here. So I'll talk a bit about what's been going on, then we'll come back to it in a few minutes' time and see what the trade might be. Hello, I'm David Jones from Capital.com, and I thought we'd do an update on Bitcoin, given the moves that we've seen over the last 3 weeks. This fantastic rally that's lifted the price, about 60%, something like that, off those lows in July. So I thought, let's take a look at it, look at the news in a bit more detail. So as usual in this video, I'll talk about some of the recent events around Bitcoin. We'll look at the big levels to watch from a trading point of view, and then we'll jump back onto the platform and see if there's a new trade to do at these levels, or do we need to stand aside? We'll have a look at that in a few minutes' time. As usual, if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed, if you could click on subscribe, it does help support the channel. It means we can continue to push out all the different content of the markets we look at during the week. And every Friday at 2:30 UK time in the afternoon, I now do a live stream direct from our YouTube channel where we look at Bitcoin and a whole host of the usual markets that we look at. If you're subscribed with the alarm bell notification pushed, you get a message off YouTube just as we're about to go live. Right, let's get into it and take a look at Bitcoin in a bit more detail. So just a recap of recent history. We saw Bitcoin move out to fresh all-time highs in April of this year, trading up above $64,000. It was a great 2021. Up until sort of mid-May for the cryptocurrencies. Then, of course, things changed. We saw major sell-offs really across the board for crypto. We saw Bitcoin trade briefly below $30,000. And there are a few reasons behind this. One of the major ones was a significant crackdown that we saw in China on both mining of Bitcoin and also on financial services companies not being allowed to offer crypto-related products to customers. But of course, in the last few weeks, we've seen things drastically turn around again, as we get used to, I think, in the world of cryptocurrencies, the volatility. So we've seen the price trade up to $46,000 thereabouts, best levels since mid-May. And this is, despite, as we heard earlier this week, the US discussing perhaps changes to cryptocurrency laws, all of that, it remains to be seen how that is going to pan out, but a really strong performance since those July lows. There's a great saying in markets that there's nothing like price to change sentiment, and I think we've seen another swing in sentiment over the last couple of weeks, with some analysts now saying, well, maybe $100,000 is the next target for Bitcoin before the end of 2021. I think that might be a little bit too bullish at the moment, but we'll take a look at things in a bit more detail and see. But this move that we've seen has broken Bitcoin out of this sideways trading range we've been in that was capped by sort of $42,000. So is this a valid break? Is it a false break? Are we going to see it fall back into the range, or is it a new trend starting that's going to hit those all-time highs at 64,000? We'll take a look in a second, but first of all, let's talk about the levels to watch. So the most immediate hurdle, I think it's a high from recent days, around 46,700. If we break that, I think the next obvious target is maybe going to be $50,000 plus. On the way up, we've seen lots of support left, and this can be quite handy when it comes to planning stop losses and stuff like that for a new trade. For me, the most immediate major level coming in just ahead of $37,000 from earlier in August. But as usual, to put some color on these numbers, let's take a look on the charts and take a look at things in a bit more detail and see where the trading opportunity might be for Bitcoin. If we start first of all with a relatively long-term view of Bitcoin, long-term in the world of crypto anyway, going back to March of last year, we had this trend in place off the March lows, and it did a great job. And then, of course, the price accelerated from November. But I think when we've looked at this in previous videos, I said, despite what is a massive crash in the price, a 50% slide plus in the price, that trend was still up. So for now, that still holds. That trend line is coming in around $20,000. It's a long way away from where we are now, so perhaps not too relevant. But I thought it was worth just reminding ourselves of the bigger picture for Bitcoin. But let's zoom things in and take a look in a bit more detail. So in recent weeks, I've been picking up on this sideways range, with the top coming in around 42,500 and support down at sort of 28 to 30,000. We'll come back to the price action in a second, and I think we probably need to look at a shorter term chart. Let's take a look at the RSI first of all. Now, I suppose the one thing that perhaps counters a more bullish view from here at the moment on Bitcoin is this RSI. So it's a 10-day RSI. When oversold down here, pretty good signal, third week of July, when the price briefly poked below 30,000. Then as the markets traded up, it went overbought on the 26th of July, around there. And as is often the case, as I often say, in strong trending markets, we'll get extreme readings from overbought, oversold indicators quite quickly, so they can get you to go against the trend or miss out on a big move in the market. And that would have been the case here, because of course the price has continued to move up a lot higher. But what's interesting, again, is something that we regularly pick up on when it shows, is this idea of divergence. So the market's hit a high here on the 30th of July, has sold off, and then the market has pushed higher into August. But the RSI is making a lower high. So this is known as bearish divergence. So when the price, in this example, moves out to fresh highs for the move, but the RSI doesn't, it can be a suggestion that perhaps the trend you're watching, this move over the last 3 weeks, is getting a little bit tired. So it remains to be seen whether we will see something of a correction from here. But that could work to our advantage. Let's go back to the chart and look at the price action. So for me, this move through 42,500, it's a big break. When we see breaks in all sorts of markets, they can suggest that perhaps sentiment is changing and we're going to see the market start to move higher in this example. When it comes to targets, I think that the next obvious target for me would be a run back to the mid-May highs. 51.4 was that high there on the way down. So I think that's a reasonably good short-term target. So I would like to buy, but perhaps not buy now. Let's flip things over to the shorter-term chart. So our trend in Bitcoin looks something like this. I still think this whole sort of 42,000 area, roughly where we've broken out through, could be something of an important one for Bitcoin. So for me, when it comes to setting stop losses, there are lots of potential places to set stop losses. So the other side of the lows over the last couple of days, around 44,500, you can see how 42,000 has played out to be a fairly important level on the way up and after the break, with a couple of retests of that. Then we have the level before the break around about 40,000. So lots of potential support levels for Bitcoin. And for me, probably the even bigger levels coming in from the 27th of July, 36.2 through to about 37.5. So the question is, where would your stop go? So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to have a bit more of an aggressive stop than usual on Bitcoin. I'm going to place it, I do want it at the very least the other side of 42,000, because we know we get big swings in crypto. And if we did see something of a correction from where we are now, that could run for a few $1,000s. So I'm going to put my order to buy at 43,000. 42,000. So ahead of those, that 42,000, the big level. And I'll give the market time to prove me right. I'm going to have quite a bit of wiggle room in here. I don't want to get stopped out just in a random volatile move. So I'm going to be a buyer at 43, and I'm going to put my stop loss down here at 36,500. So that for me is the trade on Bitcoin. So if we get a bit of short-term volatility, we'll see if I get filled at 43,000, see if that happens, and put a stop loss the other side of 36.5. Let's set that trade up. Okay, I'm ready to go. So the market at the moment is 45,500. I'm putting order in to buy 0.05 of a Bitcoin at 43. So I want to see the market dip back only to where it was a couple of days ago. I haven't set this miles away in terms of time. We'll see how it works out. And then if that order gets filled, put a stop loss in at 36,500. So well beyond that sort of 42,000 level I thought was important, and beyond the lows from just before it broke out as well. And that's for the usual risk of around £250, so £234 in this example. Let's send the order through. So that's the order placed and the order's in now. We'll see how it works out. But I do think this trend in the short term is interesting. It's only going back to the 20th of July. We've got good trendline support coming in at 41. Even if the price does get knocked back from here, we've got lots of potential support to stop any major sell-offs. It'll be interesting to see if we can recover further from here and target initially those mid-May highs. Let's see how it works out. That's it for this update in Bitcoin. We'll come back to it, of course, as the month goes on. We'll see how things progress from here. But for now, from me, David Jones and Capital.com, we'll leave things there. Good luck with your trading. For more trading videos just like this, please subscribe to our channel.